Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Darrell Price with D3 Technologies, and appreciate you joining us today. I'm joined by with Scott Dibbins, who will be leading the presentation and the material. But I wanted to just kind of kick this off as we start to look at the use of integrated dashboards within companies, and I hate to use the term PLM because so often it does. It's a scary word because it can be an 18 to 24 month deployment type of solution. So I've kind of changed the naming there as we talk about these solutions, because we're really not talking about those large, verbose types of installations and implementations. And today, Scott's going to be focusing on a couple of key areas that companies can really start to leverage these tools and dial into workflows, and so companies can gain those efficiencies in streamlining the types of information that you're trying to get through a company. But so as we start in with integrated dashboards, I want to welcome Scott to the presentation, and he will be kicking that information off, and then I'll join you at the end again just to wrap that up. But as you look at integrated dashboards, you're really looking at those gaps that exist between ERP systems and then other tools that might exist in your company. And how do you bring that data together for the key players in the company that are at different roles that need to see that data in a different way relative to their role. So Scott, I'll turn that over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. I appreciate it. So my name is Scott Dibbin. I'm Technical Manager for D3 Technologies, and just like Darrell had said, we're going to walk through integrated dashboard solutions this morning. So the goal with integrated dashboard solutions, as it shows on our slide here, is basically to achieve operational efficiencies. And if you've worked with D3 in the past, you know that one of the things that we work wholeheartedly in is lean engineering, and integrated dashboard solutions fit very well into the lean engineering methods. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, what is integrated dashboard solutions, or IDS is how we'll have it on the slides. If we want to look at it as a one-sentence explanation, it really is a tool to connect and organize people, processes, and information. I like to dig more into the processes side because what IDS can really do, it can take all the processes used to create and maintain and even communicate product information from the very beginning, which is an idea, to the end of life for a product. If we go a little deeper with that, it can even include nowadays design and engineering data along with quality processes. The IDS software connects and organizes people and information involved in these processes to really improve the effectiveness and value of those processes. So most companies today have an ERP system if you're large enough to have one. ERP systems work very well for things such as accounting, inventory management, and even production scheduling. Most ERP systems will tell you they can do everything. The problem is they really key in on just the areas I talked about. When you get into certain other aspects of it, they do have the tools there, but most of the time the tools aren't adequate for what companies are really looking for. Also, if we look on the right now, data management's been around for a long time. Autodesk's data management solution is Vault. Vault was intended for engineering and managing the engineering data, and it really does a really good job of managing that data, and it can manage data outside of engineering too, of course, but the focus mainly has always been engineering with Vault. So what happens between ERP and Vault, and even a CRM solution for the sales side, if you use such a software, is there is a gray area. So what is this gray area? It's the area that really the ERP system doesn't fit into. The Vault really doesn't do exactly what we need. What we find is we make a manual process to fix that gray area. If we were marketing, maybe we make a marketing spreadsheet that has charts and graphs exactly how we want it to be seen, just so that marketing can have that updater so that we can send it to our executive team so that they can review it. we go a little farther, engineering, a lot of times even with our ERP tools and our Vault tools, we find that engineering management will have their own worksheets that they've created with the data that they want to be shown, the data they believe is needed. And even a step farther, sales. A lot of times sales will put either sales predictions, or I've seen sales plans that have been manually created in applications such as Excel. The problem with using Excel for these applications, well, actually there's several problems with it. First of all, most of these, even if we would go backwards, most of these plans that we have here, or Excel sheets, ends up having data that either resides in our ERP solution or in our Vault. So we're manually entering that data into it. It always leaves a chance that we could have bad data we put in, we inaccurately put it in. And not only that, there's always the chance that maybe we didn't, maybe we've customized the sheet for us, but maybe it's not really the best approach for our executive team or what they need to see. Later on down the road, most of the time these exist on an individual's machine, and if that individual leaves, we don't know where that sales plan is. We don't know where the engineering worksheet is. We don't know where that marketing sheet, because it's on somebody's desktop or it's on somebody's C drive. And I've even seen a case where IT will reformat machines and these are gone. So what we try to do with IDS is we try to remove these. We try to remove this gray area that exists in between your ERP, CRM, and your data management solutions. So just like Daryl said, we're going to key in on a few specific areas that are kind of the sweet spot for IDS, or integrated dashboard solutions. And the first one we'll look at will be new product introduction. Anybody that produces or designs and produces a new product knows that there's definitely mountains that you have to climb, and you want to get there as quick as possible, and you want to be able to make that product as cheap and as efficient as you can. A tool such as IDS can definitely help with that. The next thing we'll look at is quality control. Anybody I talk to that has an IDS, it seems like quality is one of the first ones to get involved in the IDS. Quality seems to be really big in wanting to bring everybody together, which is exactly what an IDS tool will do for you. And then the last thing that kind of bundles all these together, it's all about standardizing your processes, whether it's something like an ECO that fits kind of with the quality and new product, or anything else that you just need that standardized process with. As we said before, IDS fits very well into the lean engineering pillars that we have. If you've been around D3, you've probably seen the 5 pillars of lean engineering. It can definitely improve your score on processes, even on tools and technology and engineering intelligence. So let's talk about the new product development. So the graph that you see across the top, the horizontal line there, basically shows the typical design process that we see from concept, design, prototype, manufacturer handoff, production ramp. So nearly every product development company faces really 2 realities. And the first reality that we see right here is that early product decisions such as part selection, or maybe how it's been sourced and manufactured, more or less it predetermines the cost and the performance profile for that product. So once a product's ready for prototyping, its architecture and its strategic decisions are hard in place, if not impossible to change or undo. So we need to be working from the front end of this, not on the back end. Most companies seem to be working from the back end of this, where it's the most expensive to make changes. So the second reality that we have is, just as I had said, if we can start the process and need to make changes, the cost is not nearly as aggressive as we start escalating through to the production. As you can imagine, as soon as you get the product out the door, we're talking the amount of money it can cost to change can just be unimaginable for a lot of the companies. Along with that, money is one aspect of it, but what about if we're missing our deliveries? Late changes cost more, but it also costs us the delivery of your product. And really, what people do say about it is they do less. And what they mean, these late changes provide less of an impact. It's usually a reactive type thing. It's not a proactive. It's not a good improvement. It's something that we had to do. So let's talk about that typical design process right now. So many companies design new products in a vacuum. And in other words, engineering teams design products based on a set of marketing requirements within inputs and downstream functions that will need to build and support it. So what happens is our engineer, he does does concept and design, and then after he's done, he throws over the wall to everybody else that needs it. Now the design's already done. Supply chain is saying, hey, those are obsolete parts. Those are long lead. We're going to have to resource those. Manufacturing may be saying, hey, we can't build those type of tolerances. Quality could be saying, we need to change this to reduce a defect rate that we see is going to come up. And maybe even your services is saying, hey, we need to add something for monitoring. Well, if you design this way, it's too late in the game. At this point in time, you've spent a ton of money, a lot of time, and if at this point in time you really do need to, after manufacturing handoff change, the cost of your product is going to go up significantly. And that's what this graph shows, is it is a very high life cycle or change cost when you're at this point, when you're at manufacturing handoff. If you are in a company that does throw it over the wall like that, really you need to look at the next slide that we have, because this is really the most appropriate way to design now. So if we can take our designer or engineer that's both in doing the concept and the design, if during that time we can go ahead and let maybe our purchasing or cost and supply there view what's happening, manufacturing view it, quality view it, and service view it, they can make those questions or concerns come up right in the design process, which is where it needs to be. It's the most efficient way of doing it. So this was the same curve that we had talked about. When we get to manufacturing handoff, it's so costly to really be able to do these changes. But in a very vertical approach like this, what we can do is we notice that these changes are a lot less costly because they're already thought about way back in the very beginning of the design. You know, at that point in time, they're figuring out where they're going to source things or if they're going to have a problem sourcing it. So what it will actually help with is it will get your product out the door quicker. You're going to reduce scrap, you're going to reduce rework, and you're really just going to make a more team environment inside your company. Along with that, what every CEO wants, of course, is lower cumulative change of cost. You don't want those changes that's going to accumulate more cost and more cost. So now let's switch over to quality management, which is another area that IDS does very well for companies. So if we look at how a lot of companies work, we figure out that a customer has a need. Then we go through the whole product development life cycle here. After that, we turn the corner and we give the customer the solution. Most of the customers at this point say it's a great solution, that's exactly what we want, and they purchase it from us. Maybe it's 2 weeks later, maybe it's months later, we have that issue or complaint. Hey, we need something fixed, we need something addressed that maybe isn't working as well as they expected it. And at that point, everything goes through returning the product and maybe sending a new one out, non-conformances. But if you'll notice, there's a big gap because product development may not have any idea that any of this is happening. This is a disconnected quality management. We try to stay away from this, and integrated dashboard solutions can help you avoid this. So what would this look like if we don't have a disconnected solution? It would look more like this. We have a center that is your single source of product information. So product quality management could see what product development is doing way ahead of time during the detail requirements. They can actually monitor that progress. Also, when the issues are coming in from our customers, product development can see those and monitor them. Maybe you even want them to show up on their dashboard because it was their product that they're seeing those failure rates on. And then at the very end of that, maybe if quality management has to do a change request, that would be company-wide known too. All of this is in a single source of product information. This is called a closed-loop system, and this is really what you need in a company to be the most efficient. So if we talk about the customer successes, these are the companies out there right now today that really they use an IDS system. They use it. It's changed the way they currently build or produce products today. If you look, there's several different solar manufacturers that definitely are using an IDS system. Windows and doors. If we go in the automotive section, even this NewCap, this is a braking company, so a lot of manufacturers for components for automotive. If we come over here in the consumer, everybody probably knows what TaylorMade for golf is. Southern Patio makes items that actually set on a patio, as you can imagine. If we go over here into the industrial, this company does filtrations, borax, and if you come down here to like Garlock, they do sealant and gaskets. TPI also does like composites for wind and I believe even for the transportation industry. And the reason I wanted to point each one of these out, IDS is not a niche market. It crosses several different industries here, all the way from electronics and high tech, all the way through to the aerospace industry. No matter what you're doing, an IDS solution could be a great benefit for your company. So let's talk about how we do the assessment process. So in order for a company to want an IDS system, of course, the end goal is you have to be able to get an ROI out of it. So the first step is a discovery. We need to figure out what is the as-is environment. And if you look at each one of those bullets, each one of them should make sense to you. You know, the maturity level of the targeted processes, is that a new process that needs to be vetted out still, or is that a process that's good, concreted, and something that we can make into part of your IDS solution? We have to look at challenges and pain points that we're going to address and the cost of the performance in the as-is state. The second part of it, we do the analysis, we develop the plan. To develop the plan, there's several different tools that we can use. Heat mapping definitely shows the least amount or the most amount of business value for the least amount of money. We can use swim lanes to see what affects the most departments across your company, if that's something that we need to do. We have several tools that can be used to figure out exactly what the first step would be for your IDS solution. And then step 3 is communication. That's when we would come in, review findings and a plan. We always take a step back and introduce what we've heard again and make sure we're correct on the company initiatives and what we believe the performance gaps are. We do the recommended plan forward, the to-be state. A lot of times that future state involves not just us, but it would involve the customer. We may start the process out. We may teach the customer that tool, and by the end of a 12-month process, anything that needs to be created from that point on, it's possible that even the end user or the client could be creating those. But we try to create a roadmap of how to get there, and that's the key to it. When a company has an IDS solution, there is so many processes that somebody wants in it. You need to have an unbiased third party that can step back and can really take a look at your company and see what's going to give you the best business value. And then the very last thing we do is estimate the ROI, or the to-be. And that's what everybody needs, of course, in order to purchase a tool. And the image that we show over on the right here is just a simplified version of just what I said, which is the discovery, the analysis, and the communication. Okay, that's really everything that we have. I'm going to turn it now back over to Daryl.
Thank you, Scott. And if you do have any questions, certainly feel free to email me. The phone number is there in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. But I think one of the things, you know, that Scott really kind of pointed in there towards the end, that is probably one of the most important parts. When you start looking at solving problems that deal with workflow and how data flows through your company, one of the biggest things to consider is the approach to solving the problem is almost as important as the tool that you end up solving it with. And when he talked about having a third party to walk through, that is one of the key steps to having a relationship with someone with it like D3, so that we can come in and look at your workflows and be objective in helping you decide how do you tackle that, how does technology most benefit you in that process, so that you can go about it in a very streamlined and articulated way that's really going to solve the problem and not paint yourself into a corner. So with that, I thank you for your time today. That concludes the webinar, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Thank you.